January 26, 2024, and after days of heavy fighting, a light slowly grows on the horizon. It's the second and final test of the 2024 Frank Worrell Trophy played in Brisbane, Australia. Australia had just declared on 289 runs, still trailing by 22, bringing the West Indies out to bat once more. The Aussies might have thought that under lights, declaring early would get them some early wickets, and they would be right. To close out the evening, Tagenarine Chanderpaul is caught behind. The contest would continue into the third day. This West Indies team was raw. For many of them, if this wasn't their debut test series, they didn't have many more to back them up. But what they lacked in experience, they made up for with daring and guts.
And that is beautifully timed.
Shots continue to bound, and although there would be no innings to stand out above the rest, every score, even in the 20s or 30s, was adding precious runs to that total. Australia worked its way through the batting order and into the tail. The last ball of the innings was this one.
There's the Yorker. Is it missing leg? Not according to the umpire!
A sand-shoot crusher in every sense of the word. Shamar Joseph in his debut series is helped off the field retired hurt. West Indies would finish on 193 runs. Australia needed 216 to win. The West Indies were down a bowler as Australia started their innings. But man down or not, the West Indies was still in this match.
Oh, a tickle, yeah, there it is.
They got 2 wickets before evening's end, and with 19 overs bowled, Australia finished day 3 on 2 for 60. Okay, keeping the pressure on at the end of the day is one thing. But how are this West Indies team going to do that throughout an entire day? And being a bowler down, no less. The thing was, starting into day 4, the West Indies weren't down a man anymore. After being helped off the field the night before, Shamar Joseph was back on his feet and reporting for duty. The Aussies started that day consolidating their presence at the crease. There was so much time left in the game. To win, the West Indies had to force the issue. 10 overs in, and injured toe or not, Shamar Joseph takes the ball, lobbing grenades of his own.
Oh, Bo, that's a ripper.
More was to come.
Oh, it's King Bear for Travis Head.
Australia's top 5 had been pulled apart as Steve Smith gets to 50. Surely this is just a short, sharp spell to manage Shamar's injury. Forget about it. Shamar Joseph leads the West Indies charge forward, clocking up speeds in the mid-140s. Smith remained at one end. Australia's rear guard were now in the fight, and this became a shootout. Australia's powerful strikes trying to hold out against the West Indies' heavy artillery.
Edge away, big catch, big wicket. Wow, what about this?
One by one, Shamar and Alzari Joseph removed the final parts of resistance until it was over. After bowling almost 12 overs himself, an injured Shamar Joseph wins the day for the West Indies, finishing with 7 for 68, Australia all out for 207. The West Indies have their first test win in Australia for more than 25 years.
Written off, this West Indies team can stand tall today. West Indies cricket can stand tall today.
This wasn't just a win for the West Indies. For years now, the format of Test cricket itself has been under attack. The year 2024 was a year on the front lines of this battle, and one where Test cricket may have found its ultimate weapon. Since its first recognised match in the 1800s, Test cricket has been the pinnacle of this sport. But since that time, it has seen a progressive decline in popularity, most notably in the modern era. And to be honest, a lot of the blame has to go on itself, and how it has been managed through these modern times. As these decades have worn on, our lives and societies have modernised. We now have a 24-hour news cycle, social media, and ongoing societal and political issues that are pulling our attention in all sorts of ways. And that's before we talk about how cricket itself has evolved. With 2 additional international formats, in particular T20 has continued to grow and evolve, altering cricket's ecosystem as it does.
Got the boundary, but Butler wants more. He's got enough on this. It's back-to-back sixes. Here he comes.
With this in mind, Test cricket itself is an easy target. After all, in the time it takes for one full Test match to be played, at least 2 or 3, if not more T20s could also be completed. With less overs and days of play, T20s can be started and finished in an evening. It might not take as much money for administrators to run, nor require as much attention from its fans to watch. These are the types of things that administrators look at, and it's amplified when they do put forth the money and effort to put on a test match and see empty stands for the most of it. Cricket boards have come out and said that they simply can't afford to put on test matches with such empty stands. While concrete information and figures are less publicly available for TV rights, one just needs to see how difficult it can be for a fan to watch certain games, whether that be on TV or online. It points to a similar story there, where perhaps there's just not enough interest for media companies to buy the games to put on their platforms. But what is painted as a commercial transactional equation is glossing over the more systemic issues with the international test cricket system, and why people haven't been watching as much of it in this modern era. The ICC Future Tours program, or FTP for short, is the schedule of international cricket for cricket's full member nations. And honestly, it's a mess. Just looking at test cricket therein, we have some countries playing others almost every other year, while others will wait close to a decade to tour some places. Some have never even toured certain countries. A series may have 5, some 3, or even worse, 2 test matches. The calendar also now has to contend with increasingly large portions of it being ring-fenced off for franchise T20 leagues. For those parts of the calendar that are still left open, it often seems that commercial marketability is factored much higher over more basic sporting concerns, like everyone should be playing everyone. As a way to add some sort of coherence and context to the Test cricket portion of the FTP, the World Test Championship was reintroduced. But with these imbalances still unrectified, it's only made these issues more glaring. First is that, as it currently stands, 3 full member nations do not even participate in it, even though they have test status. The World Test Championship table, after that test that we just watched at the Gabba, had Australia top, India second, and South Africa third. Though all is not what it seems. Looking at the very first column, we see that there is no uniformity in the number of games being played across the board. Even when all of these teams complete their full fixture list for this cycle, these differences will still remain. In doing so, it throws the most important figure for most sports, the number of match points earned, completely out of whack. South Africa is on top, but they do so while having less points than the 2 countries below them. Yes, I hear you in the back who point out that this points table is now ranked based on winning percentage. But that doesn't do anything to fix it. Instead, we have an entrenched system where this inequality of matches remains. The team with the equal lowest games played during this cycle is almost rewarded for doing so, while the team who has played the most has a higher chance of being punished because of it. With the bilateral nature of how these fixtures are created, a country can almost choose which countries to play over a 2-year period, to give them the best chances of making the final. Now, I'm not accusing or pointing fingers at one country over another, or insinuating any specific country of doing what I've just suggested. We're just looking at the broken nature of the system itself, and why not only does it do little to add true context to the FTP, it's also a big reason why administrators aren't seeing the commercial benefits from the format that they would like to. This same system as it stands also affects how and why some of the game's biggest hurdles for wider success remain unresolved. These range from on-the-field issues such as the general pace of play, to bigger issues such as the financial state and competitiveness of certain national teams. While ICC global rights deals have grown into the billions of dollars over the years, the rising tide of revenue has not raised all boats equally. But these are cans of worms that can be opened for another day. I think by now you get the idea. Although the game's oldest format has stood the test of time, its deeply rooted, historic and traditional structures leave it vulnerable against competitors that are quick to adapt, wealthy and ever looking to expand. As we continue to look at the struggles that Test cricket faces in 2024, it would not be complete without looking at what it's up against. And what better place to look than the Indian Premier League.
To the gap, and that's 4. Oh, what a special innings this has been.
The 2024 edition of the IPL was its biggest yet, and one that showcased how T20 cricket is willing to try new things and bring in more viewers to its product. It saw the continuation of a rule that they implemented a year before, known as the impact player. The impact player allowed IPL teams to have 4 additional substitutes from the start of the game, with one of them being permitted to be subbed in at specific points of the match. It took a year for these teams to come to grips with this new change, but in 2024 we saw its true potential. The effects were equally awe-inspiring and alarming.
He does! That's fettered this!
In the IPL, with its largely flat pitches and short boundaries, the contest is already tipped towards the batter to a certain extent. But this new rule allowed teams to bring in an extra batter into their lineup, or sub them in later on, further tipping the scales of cricket's contest between bat and ball. Before this season, the record for the highest IPL score was 263 in 2013, scored by RCB. The 2024 IPL would see that score surpassed 4 separate times. This new record was 287 by Sunrisers Hyderabad at the Chinnaswamy, followed by 277 from Sunrisers in Hyderabad, 272 by KKR in Visakhapatnam, and 266 by Sunrisers again, this time in Delhi. Moreover, below that previous record score, we also now have 4 more totals that are all above 250. All of them scored since the impact player rule was introduced. If those stats don't already indicate it, IPL 2024 became the season of the batter. It had the highest ever scoring rate per over for an IPL at nearly 9.5 and over, and the most centuries of any IPL season so far, showering spectators with sixes as bowlers faced onslaught after onslaught.
9 needed. Butler goes big!
If we look at it from that commercial perspective from before, the administrators would be elated with the results too. While it's pretty much a given that IPL games are going to have good attendance, just partway through this tournament, TV broadcasters reported that an 18% increase in domestic viewership had been seen, with further games and the final still to be played. I mean, that doesn't even include international viewership either. These numbers show why administrators are so encouraged by the T20 format. This rule change had helped bring more eyeballs to the tournament and increase their revenues in the process. But the IPL extravaganza for 2024 finished in late May. We now move past the ring fence to a time where Test cricket could continue once more. For generations, playing nations have crisscrossed the globe, visiting and or hosting other teams. And in the modern era, the team and fan base that has arguably seen the most difficulty is Bangladesh.
Oh, taken, has he taken it? No, dropped.
The Tigers gained their Test status in mid-2000 and quickly found out the harshness of cricket's longest format. For roughly the first 4.5 years of their Test journey, they would not experience the taste of victory even once. In their first 34 tests, the closest they came were 3 draws, 2 against Zimbabwe and 1 against the West Indies. The 2 draws against Zimbabwe actually sit on the opposite ends of a 21-match losing streak, which still stands today as the most consecutive Test defeats for any Test nation in history. It wasn't until January 2005 where Bangladesh would finally get to feel what a Test victory is like at home in Chattogram. A truly momentous occasion. The second Test would be drawn, leading to Bangladesh's first ever Test series win. An achievement like this is special for any team, and as it should be, more so when you're coming off a winless streak like that. But there are things that need to be considered with this victory. Their opponent Zimbabwe were in the midst of the Zimbabwean cricket crisis, and this was their first Test match back after a self-imposed exile from Test cricket. I actually made a video about this time period in Zimbabwean cricket here, if you want to learn more about it. A significant number of Zimbabwean all-time greats weren't playing. That first Test included 3 Zimbabwean debutants, and barring captain Tatenda Taibu, the number of Test caps across the squad was nominal. Just to be clear, I don't say it like this to somehow discount the effort, because a Test win still is a Test win. You play against who is put in front of you. But I want to show you that Bangladesh still had a very long way to go. And moving forward past this series win, you'll see what I mean. Of the next 23 Test matches after that Zimbabwe series, between 2005 and 2009, Bangladesh had 21 losses. In that span, they experienced the 4th and 8th longest losing streaks in Test cricket history. The 2 draws that split these losing streaks apart could have been losses as well, had it not been for significant rain delays in both. Bangladesh's second series win finally came at the start of 2009, beating the West Indies 2-0 in the Caribbean. This too was a series overshadowed by off-field issues of its own. Due to a contract dispute between the West Indies Cricket Board and the West Indies Players Association, the entire first choice 11 of the West Indies Test team boycotted the series. forcing the West Indies to call up a completely new team within only a couple of days' notice. 7 of those players named in the first test were debutants, and the majority of them would go on to play only a handful of tests in their careers. This cycle continues into the 2010s. In the first 14 years of becoming a test nation, Bangladesh played 87 test matches home and away, and only won 6 of them. Bangladesh had found out, just as all nations do, that nothing is given easily in test cricket. But through these dark days of toil, harsh lessons are learnt. And one of these lessons would, ever so slightly, start to turn things in a new direction.
Goes over the top. What a way to bring up your 100. Maiden test 100. Ola Irutirimana.
During the mid-2010s, with all these defeats both home and away, something seemed to have changed within Bangladesh cricket. See, throughout history, a central fact has remained in test cricket, and that is, if you want to be a successful test team, you must be strong at home. As long as I can remember, Bangladesh's biggest strength has been its spin bowling. But being the master of your own domain means that you can also create an environment that can suit one's strengths. Bangladesh would lean towards creating pitches that suited them. They would start to turn more and more with inconsistent bounce, often from day one. Bangladesh could open their bowling with at least one spinner and even have only one pacer in their 11. Meanwhile, spinners like Shakib Al Hasan, Tajul Islam and Mehdi Hassan Miraz had room to weave their own magic. Bangladesh became, particularly to teams from outside the subcontinent, a trial by spin on steroids. In 2016, it helped Bangladesh earn their biggest win up until then, beating England by 108 runs in the second test of that series. Of the 40 wickets that Bangladesh took in that test series, 37 of them were taken by 3 spin bowlers, the 3 that I mentioned earlier. Almost a year later, another massive scalp was taken as well. This time Australia, and again 19 wickets were taken in that match by Shakib, Tajul and Mehdi. Am I saying that with all of this, that all of a sudden Bangladesh had become a world-conquering team? Of course not. They still lost more matches than they won. Remember, the first 14 years only managing to beat significantly weakened teams from Zimbabwe and the West Indies. And now, from 2014 to 2021, they beat those 2 teams again, plus England, Australia, Sri Lanka and New Zealand. To me, that's progress. But this progress wasn't without its own pitfalls. In 2018, Mohammad Issam wrote an article for ESPN Cricinfo discussing the ramifications of Bangladesh's decision of spin-friendly pitches at home. The crux of the piece was that while these types of pitches facilitated home success, the batters from the opposition weren't the only ones struggling against the spinning ball. He pointed to figures where, from mid-2014 to late 2018, not only did the batting average of opposition batters drop, the same was also true for Bangladesh's batters as well, both by some 20-odd runs. Moreover, he intimated that because Bangladesh is always playing on these difficult wickets at home, with the increased exposure to ODIs and T20s, they were struggling to develop the necessary nuances for batting successfully in Test cricket. Bangladesh would pull off arguably their biggest victory to date in 2022, where they beat New Zealand in New Zealand by 8 wickets. But the second test they lost by an innings and 117 runs.
And again, and that's bigger. 250 for Latham, and what a way to bring it up.
And moving forward to March 2024, their results seem to reinforce Mohammad's points, with losses to South Africa and the West Indies away. In mid-2024, Bangladesh would prepare themselves for a trip to Pakistan. As they did, however, something much more serious was going on at home. On June 5th, 2024, the Bangladesh High Court made a landmark ruling that reinstated a quota system for government jobs within the Bangladesh civil service, one that had been previously removed years earlier. What this quota system would do was that it set aside a certain percentage of jobs in the service to certain groups of people, such as women, the disabled, sexual and ethnic minorities, people from underrepresented parts of Bangladesh, and others. Also within this system was another category, for descendants of people that fought during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. This was the conflict where the modern People's Republic of Bangladesh was born, out of the territory previously referred to as East Pakistan. and earlier than that, a part of Bengal. At the time, all up, the quota system accounted for more than half of the total jobs available in the civil service. And of that half, around a third of that would be reserved for descendants of those freedom fighters. The decision to reinstate this system was met with widespread discontent, based on two separate factors. One of them was that it reduced the number of government jobs available for people who were just going into the workforce, like university students, at a time where job opportunities were increasingly shrinking and the wider Bangladesh economy was stagnating, along with rising inflation. Bangladesh itself suffers from high youth unemployment. At that time, by some estimates, it is said that more than 30 million people of its roughly 170 million population were out of work. Secondly, was that this quota system would give a significant portion to the descendants of freedom fighters, many of which were ongoing supporters of the ruling Awami League political party headed by Sheikh Hasina, the then Prime Minister of Bangladesh. It was seen by some as though the merits of a person's performance mattered less than which political party they were supportive of. In early July, peaceful demonstrations began in parts of the country, beginning in universities. The Supreme Court did order a temporary delay towards re-implementing these quotas for a time, but students refused to stop demonstrating, demanding an executive order to cancel the quotas altogether. These demonstrations quickly spread and grew to include wider blockades of road and rail networks in major cities including Dhaka and Chattogram. Rather than listen to their demands and seek to calm tensions, Sheikh Hasina criticised the movement, much to the students' dismay. Along with it, threats of retaliation were publicly made by members of the ruling Awami League. In the days after, violence would commence and intensify in various parts of the country, but most notably in Dhaka. Between the student demonstrators and the student groups loyal to the Awami League, hundreds of people were injured. A further speech by Sheikh Hasina did little to calm matters as public access to the internet was cut off. On July 18th, demonstrators organised a widespread shutdown of the transport network in Dhaka and other parts of the country. In this shutdown, and in the subsequent protests that followed over the next few weeks, demonstrators in the tens of thousands would be met with significant violence. Initial reports stated that less than 100 people were killed, with many more injured and/or arrested. But in the days and weeks after, that number continued to grow. Government estimates in late August 2024 pointed to more than 1,000 people killed, but that's likely a conservative number as well, and a conclusive figure probably won't be known for some time, if ever at all. By this point, this movement would grow from one that was seeking to remove a quota system to one that sought to remove a government. Even though the Supreme Court would rule that the quota system must be significantly reduced, the violent government reaction to the demonstrations and other long-standing grievances over Sheikh Hasina's tenure saw the scale of demonstrations and related violence increase further. On the 5th of August, Sheikh Hasina fled the country by helicopter into India. She was no longer seen as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. In the days after, Muhammad Yunus would be appointed Chief Advisor to the new interim government of Bangladesh, setting a new course for the nation. As we're talking here, we're getting closer to the 1-year anniversary of these events. But as I look into this camera right now, they really are still so raw. Bangladesh is still seeing the aftermath of this right now. Not to mention that this entire sequence has had significant implications on the administration of Bangladesh cricket. The biggest headline was that the 2024 ICC Women's T20 World Cup, scheduled to be held in Bangladesh for that October, was relocated to the UAE instead. Perhaps even bigger than that was the resignation of Nazmul Hasan Papon, the now former president of the Bangladesh Cricket Board and former Minister of Youth and Sports in the Hasina-led government. Papon and his presidency of the Bangladesh Cricket Board is perhaps worthy of its own video at some point. That, though, is for another time. Imagine if you're one of the members of the Bangladesh cricket team, getting ready for your tour of Pakistan, and all of this is going on in your home country. But the giant machine that is the international cricket calendar does not stop for anyone. Even, it seems, for revolutions. Hopping aboard that plane to Pakistan were a squad of 16 men. It would be a culmination of Bangladesh's cricket history to date. Its years of defeats, home and away, had created a calcified rock of experience at the heart of the team. Mushfiqur Rahim, Shakib Ul Hasan and Momin Ul Haq. At the time, Bangladesh's first, third and fourth most experienced players in Test history. All former Test captains. They held those spots for the most test runs scored for Bangladesh as well. As Bangladesh's home record improved into the mid-2010s, players such as the aforementioned Mehdi Hassan Miraz and Liton Das arrived on the scene. The success of the team, it has long been said, rested on this group of players. More recently though, they've had support. It starts with the coming of age of Najmul Hossain Shanto. For years, his form did not warrant consistent selection, but that was before a 2023 season for the ages saw him become Bangladesh's highest run scorer in all 3 formats for that year. He had since been given the captaincy and the number 3 spot in the batting order. But most exciting for me is its pace attack. For factors in and outside of their control, Bangladesh haven't been able to regularly field a pace attack that properly challenges other teams. For me, it has been their single biggest weakness as a team and a huge reason for their struggles, particularly abroad. But finally, that was changing.
Fuller, edged and out.
Where else to start than Taskin Ahmed? He might be the most improved pace bowler in world cricket over the past decade. Known early in his career primarily for his velocity, he has since matured into an experienced and skillful opening bowler, a leader of the attack. Taskin was the tip of the spear though. Behind him were a unit of 4 promising pacers, Shoriful Islam, Khalid Ahmed, Nahid Rana and Hassan Mahmood. And most importantly, these additions have not taken anything away from their spin bowling prowess. Bangladesh hadn't played a test against Pakistan for 4.5 years. They had never won a test against Pakistan or in Pakistan. With historic events at home still fresh in their minds and under the stewardship of a newer, younger captain, we're about to see if this well-rounded Bangladesh side could change those fortunes. Pakistan were in a new era for their test team as well. Australian coach Jason Gillespie was their new head coach with Shan Masood as captain. The hours prior to the game had seen a lot of rainfall in Rawalpindi. The first session and a half was lost due to a wet outfield, but Bangladesh eventually won the toss, bowling first. Some people might have been forgiven for being a little sleepy, waiting for this game to start. Bangladesh was ready to wake them up.
In the air, and what a catch that is!
Captain Shan Masood was at the crease, but for how long?
A beautiful delivery, is there an inside edge? Huge appeal.
Was that bat or pad? The umpire said bat. A really difficult call to make. Takes Pakistan 2 down. Babar Azam was in next.
Oh, big appeal. There was a sound and the finger goes up as well.
A painfully recurrent theme had appeared for Pakistan. 3 early wickets with less than 10 overs bowled. Pakistan 3 for 16. Babar Azam was the latest victim of Bangladesh's pace attack. There was still talent to come from Pakistan, at the crease and from the changing room. Saeem Ayub and Saud Shakil set about steadying the Pakistani ship. They put on a 50 partnership between them, Pakistan inching closer to triple figures, heading into tea. Saeem Ayub would bring up his first Test 50 after the break. Bangladesh wouldn't let their heads fall. They would have their breakthrough soon enough.
To continue, behind the deck, he's got another one.
Hassan Mahmood lures Ayub into the drive, the slip cordon taking their chance. Although the pitch was already revealing underlying demons, Saud Shakil would bring up his 50 and Pakistan would finish the day on 4 for 158. Despite the runs in the last session, Bangladesh were ever so slightly ahead, heading into day 2. The only thing was, just as the pitch dried up under the bright sun, so did the wickets. Shakil and Rizwan had started the counter-attack, using the old ball to their advantage.
There you go, again, this time, oh, even better.
Pakistan's 200 was reached in the first session, as was Rizwan's half-century, as was the 100 partnership. They finished on 4 for 256 at lunch. The onslaught continued after the break. Rizwan and then Shakil both scoring centuries. And that new ball? As it hit the boundary rope, it didn't seem much different from the old ball. Bangladesh's pacers ran in hard, banging the ball into the wicket, looking for any signs of a response. It was becoming dire for them, Pakistan passing 350. Maybe spin would find the answer.
Better, much better. A bit of turn for him as well. Was Saud Shakil overbalanced on that occasion?
A millimetre or two of shoe rubber, a handful of pixels on a screen. That's all it would have taken for the third umpire to signal not out. But Bangladesh had their breakthrough via Mehdi Hassan Miraz and Liton Das's quick hands. Shakil gone for 141, a 240-run partnership broken at last. Bangladeshi spin became more and more of a factor as the day wore on, as did how much time was left in the game. Salman Ali Agha was dismissed for 19, but Mohammad Rizwan went into T20 mode. A change of innings was coming soon, whether being bowled out or by declaration. Shaheen Shah Afridi helps Rizwan take Pakistan past 400. A flurry of big hits takes them to 6 for 448 before Shan Masood declares.
At 448 for 6, so Shan Masood feels that Pakistan have had enough.
Shadman Islam and Zakir Hassan would have a tricky 12-over spell to negotiate before stumps. Pakistan would find the edge a couple of times, but nothing went to hand. Bangladesh none for 27 at stumps. Things were against the Tigers as they started day 3. Nearly 2 days in the field, needing to chase and then surpass more than 400 runs, and questions still hanging around how their young top 3 would perform. Zakir Hassan being dismissed by Naseem Shah did little to lessen those worries. Their captain showed some confidence at 3, but he would be gone too.
Oh, he's gone through.
We're at one of those moments in a test match where a proverbial fork in the road can appear before a team. Bangladesh already know where one of these paths lead. As we've seen, they've walked it regularly for decades. But what about the other path? It's harder to walk. They might not reach their destination and end up losing anyway. But so what? Why can't they try? With what has happened in their country over the past few weeks, why can't they try? Overcoming a 448-run score would take a team effort. Making their way onto the field was the beginning of their experienced middle order. Shadman Islam was set, as Momentous showed the beauty of properly timing a ball on the bat.
That's brilliant.
I know it sounds wrong with the state of this game, but Bangladesh had plenty of time. If they take a draw, it would still be their first ever draw in Pakistan. Off the last ball before lunch, Shadman Islam brings up his 50 off 123 balls. After the break, Momin ul Haq would reach 50 as well. Though, after trying and trying, Karim Shahzad would finally get one through the gate. It was time to get a move on for Shadman. He targets Salman Ali Agha, seemingly looking to force Pakistan back to their paces. That would be just fine for Mushfiqur Rahim.
You must have picked up the appreciation on my mic by my co-commentator. That is a shot and a half from Mushfiqur Rahim.
On the cusp of scoring a century, and with the paces back on, Shadman would fall out for 93. It's 4 for 199, Bangladesh trailed by 249 runs. Shakib Al Hasan was in after tea, but he didn't look entirely settled. Saim Ayub, with his first ever over in Test cricket, dismisses him for his first ever Test wicket, out for 15. Still 230 runs behind, Bangladesh was starting to falter in Rawalpindi's fading light. There were really only 2 more recognised batters to come, Liton Das one of them. But don't ever forget about Mushfiqur Rahim. 5 down or not, Liton Das was going to play his shots. Bangladesh get the deficit to under 200, and after a long and tiring day in the field, now was the time for them to attack Pakistan's paces. Mushfiqur scores his half-century, and here comes Liton Das with the shots.
Like that. That is probably the shot of the innings. Short ball. Cries of catch it, but that's been... Goes short again, and that has been pulled in the air, but that has been hammered out of the ground. That is out of the stadium.
Off nearly a runner ball, he gets to 50 as well.
Again, that has been happened. Nobody's seen that. It's gone so quickly. Gets to his 17th Test match 50.
Day 4 would be the time that they bring that deficit to double figures. Liton Das wouldn't be around to see it happen though. Rahim starts to go through the gears. It was clear that this pitch was conducive to spin, but Pakistan had only picked one recognised spinner in the 11, and Mushfiqur was attacking their part-timer. Mushi brings up his century, and that Pakistan lead is dwindling ever more.
Classy century for Mushfiqur. Look what it means to him. First century against Pakistan.
The key to Rahim's innings was him picking apart the field, sweeping, nudging, glancing into the gaps, and letting the outfield do the rest. It's not like he couldn't hit over the top either. Bangladesh had surpassed Pakistan's total. They were now ahead in the game. A tired fielder throws it back in as Mushfiqur reaches 150, and Mehedi gets 50 himself. All of that time it took to get set earlier in their innings was paying off, as Pakistan now had a deficit of their own.
This time he launches and launches high, wide and handsome.
But Mushfiqur wouldn't get to 200, out for 191 off 341 balls. He started halfway through day 2 with his team nearly 250 runs behind, now leaving the field with them ahead by 80. Another fine innings by Bangladesh's best ever test batter. Hassan Mahmood would be gone for a duck. With day 4 coming to an end, if Bangladesh smashed a few runs here, get the lead to triple figures, crazier things have happened than bowling out their opposition in a couple of sessions. Mehedi Hassan Miraz and the tail free their arms. Another new ball had been taken and it was flying off the bat. Mehedi is dismissed for 77. The fast bowlers get themselves a few more runs to work with later on. Bangladesh bowled all out for 565, a lead of 117 runs. After spending around 2 days in the field, Pakistan had to save this match. It was time for the Tigers' pace attack to show their mettle.
They have gone! A little edge, beautiful delivery by Shuraful.
At stumps, Pakistan were 1 for 23. The final day. It started loosely with Bangladesh's bowlers, though sometimes all you need is a tickle.
Swing and a miss, they've all gone up, the entire Bangladesh contingent.
Okay, yeah, take it back one frame, please.
He's out.
This was 2 balls later.
For the Bangladesh team here. Edge, oh, dropped.
The big wicket of Babar Azam slips out of Liton Das's gloves. He can punish you, just look. Pakistan trailed by 70. Naheed Rana was giving them everything he had, bowling in excess of 140 Ks. That dropped catch would be avenged.
Oh, he's got it! He's got him!
It's 3 for 66, time for the spinners. Saud Shakil was gone for a duck, but that man Mohammad Rizwan was back at the crease. The spinners were putting air under the ball, getting them to drive, even if they were punished for doing so, because sooner or later, this might happen. Before lunch on day 5, Pakistan would be 6 down. Mohammad Rizwan watched as batters came and went.
Gone!
They would surpass Bangladesh's lead. Rizwan did his best, reaching 50, Pakistan 8 for 141, leading by 24 runs. But even he couldn't do enough to stop the slide. Pakistan, in under 2 sessions, are all out for 146.
Is it just outside the line? He's given it. He's given it.
Impact is umpire's call, and it's hitting the wickets, Adrian. On screen, signal now.
To win their first ever test in Pakistan, Bangladesh would need just 30 runs to win. Bangladesh had walked that other path and saw it through right to the end. By now, it was just a leisurely stroll to the finish line. Shadman Islam and Zakir Hassan take just 6.5 overs to record a truly historic victory by 10 wickets.
4 more! There you go! Bangladesh go on to create history, and they're all up in the stands standing. Simply incredible.
In the midst of their celebrations, an unfamiliar but enticing thought sprung forth. Their team had just won their first test match in Pakistan, but could they win their first ever test series there as well? 1 test match to go, 1 match to find out. The venue stayed the same for the second test, but many changes were made. To start, Pakistan would make 2 huge calls to their lineup. Both Shaheen Shah Afridi and Naseem Shah were dropped for Mir Hamza and Abrar Ahmed. Shaheen had just had his first child, and it was said that Naseem didn't look at full fitness. The changes, while controversial, would bring another spin option into the game. Bangladesh welcomed back Taskin Ahmed into the side for Shoraful Islam. The entire first day was washed out due to rain, but on the second, Bangladesh won the toss and bowled first. They only needed to draw the match to take the series. Taskin with the ball finally in his hands.
Oh, he's cleaned him up!
The tip of the spear had found his mark early. a wicket maiden. The Tigers had started that day so well. Pakistan on the back foot early on. It would have hurt to lose that first test, not to mention the media backlash that came with it. Captain Shan Masood was in the firing line more than most. Him and Saim Ayub would get Pakistan's innings going, putting on a 50 partnership. Shan reaching 50. Pakistan passed triple figures after lunch. Bangladesh would strike back.
Oh, that one turn and given.
A deceptively good call from umpire Goff. It looked a bit high to me at first, but then again, that's why I'm not an umpire.
Impact in line, wicket setting.
The captain was gone off Mehdi Hassan Miraz. Saim Ayub would reach 50 shortly after. He had been the watchful eye of that earlier partnership. One lapse can change everything.
Oh, brain fade. This is not the first time we...
Two new batters at the crease. Babar Azam and Saud Shakil were in an all too familiar situation for Pakistan. Time for pace from both ends. Shakil was actually dropped second ball, but wouldn't stay for long. Tusk in with his second. The disappointing series continued for Babar Azam, dismissed for 31 off Shakib. Pakistan would get past 200 in the third session, with Naheed Rana steaming in.
Oh, that's clipped him.
Oh, how did he hit that? Naheed would have his first in the next over. Start after start for the middle order, none of them had carried on. Pakistan's tail exposed at 6 for 211. The depth in Bangladesh's bowling was on show. If Pakistan were getting used to spin, it was straight on with pace, and vice versa. Mehdi Hassan Miraz only happy to bowl to the tail. Salman Ali Agha went the aerial route to score as much runs as he could, getting to 50 as well, but it would only last for so long. Mehdi with the last wicket and his 5-fer. Pakistan all out for 274 in less than a day.
5-fer for Mehdi Hassan Miraz. Fabulous performance by the off-spinner.
Bangladesh had to survive 2 overs before stumps. Any chances had to be taken.
Little bit of shape, edge, dropped.
None for 10 at the end of day 2. It was day 3, the moving day as they say. The dropping of that catch late in day 2 and the dropping of Shaheen and Naseem from the 11 would put pressure right onto Karim Shahzad and Mir Hamza. But this would be the most action-packed day of the entire series. Those two pacers front and centre. Bangladesh down a wicket early on. Another, Karim Shahzad bringing a messy end to Shadman Islam. Make that 3.
In the air, gone.
Hamza with his first. 5, Mushfiqur Rahim. And Shakib 6 for 26. 12 overs of chaos. More than half of Bangladesh's 11 gone, trailing by 248 runs. I know what I said earlier, but is just the one test victory all that bad? Come on, they had a chance, but it's 6 for 26. Maybe that series win is out of reach after all. A 1-1 drawn series is still a great achievement. Let's hope that they can at least avoid an innings defeat. As Mehdi and Liton start, they do the most important thing first. Don't get out. Their shots are a bit edgy, a bit uppish, but they're in the gap. Ooh, that's a nice shot. Spinners brought on and ooh, that's another nice shot. Bangladesh brings the deficit below 200. Bangladesh slowly pass triple figures, then avoid the follow-on as Liton Das reaches his 50. These two might be onto something here.
Complete half a century, and the context of the game has more weight than just 50 runs.
The deficit 144 runs. Mehdi was next to raise his bat. This partnership grows. The ball had lost its shine and even spin wasn't having much of an impact. Karim Shahzad, already with his 4-fer, gets hit around the ground too.
There's a man position and all he will do is watch the ball sail over his head.
The partnership now over 150 and the deficit goes from triple figures to under 100 runs. The Tigers close in on Pakistan. A few more big hits brings it down to 80. With both batters closing in on a century, Karim Shahzad gets his 5th. Mehdi Hassan Miraz out for 78. A partnership that brings Bangladesh back from the brink. Maybe Bangladesh isn't out of this after all. Liton had to work with the tail, though Tuskin doesn't last long, to close out the second session. Das reaches his 4th test century and takes matters into his own hands. The deficit is under 50 runs and then 30. With every swing for 6, Bangladesh were nearing parity with Pakistan. With only a 12-run lead, Litton's fine innings comes to an end. 138 off 228.
Sprinting around, and Litton Das finally makes a mistake. Can you believe it? What an innings.
The final wicket would be taken in true tail-ender fashion.
Oh, big shout. And finger goes up.
Why not give it a go? Whoa, hold up. Wait a minute.
Organization out. Pitching outside off. Impact no shot offer.
Wow, that was actually pretty close. Bangladesh all out for 262, trailing by a nominal 12 runs. Yet again, Pakistan had to defend the game with their bat. And it's here, after all the work by Mahedi and Litton, where Bangladesh's Tigers can pounce.
Edge and gone. First success. Hassan Mahmood. Bowled him. The outswinger that hits.
As the night watchman is dismissed, Pakistan are 2 for 9 at stumps on day 3. For a 4th innings chase, the further a total gets past 100, all the more tricky it becomes. Bangladesh had to get this team out as cheaply as possible. Pakistan didn't start the day off all that badly, until it was that man again, Taskin Ahmed, to get the first wicket of the day.
Ball driven in the air, gone.
The young bowling unit had drawn blood. Naheed Rana's bowling hit 6th gear, getting rid of the captain. This one was clocked at 146 Ks. He should have had 3. Mohammad Rizwan dropped. Not a player you want to let off the hook. Rana takes it out on Shakil.
Oh yes, how good was that?
Pakistan was 6 down. Rizwan was scoring vital runs with his second chance. The spinners were not having any fortune as Pakistan's lead grows over 110. It was all on the paces to get these final 4 wickets. Rizwan is dismissed. Hassan Mahmood would be on a hat-trick after the next ball.
Edge and taken. Back-to-back wickets.
Although he wouldn't get it, Rana dismisses Abra Ahmed instead. The swinging blows of Salman Aliaga races them forward, Pakistan nearing 200 runs. On the verge of a fifer, Hassan Mahmood ends the innings. The big number was 185 runs. 4 and a bit sessions left. That's all that stood between Bangladesh and winning their first ever test series in Pakistan. If you wanted a signal of how they would start this chase, look no further than Zakir Hassan.
Oh, whips it away well. No mid-on, deeps.
Only bad light would stop him from going further on day 4. None for 42 at stumps. He would continue for a while the next day, but not for long. Zakir's innings was short, though nevertheless important, with Bangladesh well on their way. His partner got off to a start of his own, but no further. If everyone just contributed together, they didn't necessarily need one huge innings from someone. Shanto and Mominal showing how. They bring up their 50 partnership.
Once again, the line down the leg side, they run through for 2. And the...
Actually 52. An innocuous delivery sees the captain dismissed. Mominal as well, 20 runs later. Throughout Bangladesh's journey, all those losses, all that torment, and 2 of their most experienced test players were there for a lot of it. Today would be different. Mushfiqur Rahim and Shakib Al Hasan weren't going to let this one go.
That's slashed away. That's gone to the boundary. It's over.
Victory by 6 wickets. The series was won 2-0. I want to finish our time with Bangladesh with a quote from their test captain, speaking about the events back home. Quote, "In the last 1 month, we've had a very difficult situation. Still, there are some problems there. But in Bangladesh, we all support each other. I want to dedicate this win to those who lost their lives in the student protests. Their families have gone through tough times, so I hope this win can bring a few smiles to their faces." Unquote. There was no asterisks in this one, no cricket crises or contract disputes. What Bangladesh had done on the cricket field and at home showed that every day is a new day. And sometimes, bringing a smile to someone's face is the thing that really matters. We say farewell to Bangladesh as they return home to a new future. And as for us, we're going nowhere. Our year on the front lines was just getting started. And after reeling from their first Test series loss to Bangladesh in history, Pakistan had 1 month to set their defences again. Because a new team was coming. One with a crown and 3 lions on their chest.
A bowling beauty from that off-stump channel.
Hey guys, thanks for making it this far. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up below and subscribe if you're new. Maybe share it with someone who you think might like it also. I know I say it a lot, but every little bit helps to grow this channel and for more people to hopefully enjoy the content like you did. And cheers for the support. 6 and Out wouldn't be here without you. If you hadn't noticed already, this is going to be a multi-part series. So as a placeholder for when part 2 comes out, I'm going to point upwards so you'll know where to click next. But if you're seeing this before part 2 is out, have a look at this one on the Zimbabwean cricket crisis. We've referenced it in this video and it's honestly a really interesting topic. And until the next one, take care and I'll see you soon.